UnCanadian by B. Constant. Fragments. I pulled my dirty underwear over my unwashed body. The hospital gown hung loosely on me, paper thin against my skin. I slipped into my flats, leaving the rest of my clothes untouched, still folded, that I didn't dare look at. The sight of them was too close to the pain reminders. Better to leave them behind like shedding a second skin. All my things gone, except for my purse. I started walking. Where? I didn't know, didn't care. No one stopped me, no one even noticed. It was like I didn't exist, like I was a ghost. I drifted through the halls toward the elevator, the weight of the place pressing down on me. When the doors finally slid shut behind me, it was as if the whole hospital sighed with relief, glad to let me go. My baby. Would she make it through her first day? Outside, I spotted a bus stop. I rummaged through my purse and counted out the fare in loonies. The air hit my face, but I didn't feel if it was warm or bitterly cold. I only felt the weight in my chest ease slightly, like I could finally breathe. I forced myself to walk, breathe. I tried to smile at the bus driver, but it felt fake, forced. I went through the motions, mirroring, like I was just another face in the crowd, a functioning part of society. But I wasn't. I didn't belong here. Not anymore. I got off at my stop and walked the half-block to the apartment. Brooding Beethoven greeted me the second I opened the door, the dark notes hanging in the air like a warning. I knew his mood just by the way he played. James was in no state to help me. I was on my own for this one. That thought settled over me, heavy, unyielding. I remembered standing before my students. I clapped out the beats. I persisted, so desperate to spark even a flicker of joy in their eyes. Each clap was a testament to my love of music, a language that filled my soul. I clapped for the moment when their eyes lit up with understanding, as they grasped something profound. I clapped for them first, always. On that distant day when they stood on their grand stage, the world watching, I saw myself, always there, clapping louder than anyone else. I hoped that someday I'd clap for my daughter. I'd watch her eyes widen with understanding as she fell in love with music, like I had. But now, it had all been taken away. Did you ever love him? Or did you only love who he could be? The idea of him. The knocking jolted me back, pulling me away from my memories and regrets. I'd been staring at nothing, suspended in thought. Until I remembered. No one else was going to answer the door. I tried to stand, but my head felt like lead. The room swayed, a slow, dizzying spin. "A second, please," I whispered, my voice a hoarse murmur that startled even me. It was unrecognizable, as if it belonged to someone else entirely, a polite, welcoming girl. The door was only a few steps away, but I stumbled, moving slowly. A chilling realization overcame me. I could fake my way through life, hiding my trauma beneath a perfect facade. No one truly looked anymore. No one dared to look beyond the surface. I could carry on like this forever, unnoticed. I forced my face into something bright and cheerful, practiced it, like a well-rehearsed performance. A smile, twinkling eyes, the perfect hostess in her happy home. I'd done it 1,000 times before. What was one more? I opened the door, and there stood a woman I knew. Her hair was pulled back in a neat ponytail, her crisp business pantsuit a sharp contrast to the chaos around us. We weren't friends. Our relationship was strictly professional. She had always been so energetic, like a cheerleader in a pantsuit. But this time, something in her changed. She looked me over, and for a split second, I caught a flash of something. Shock? Horror? Before she composed herself again. Even as she tried to reassemble her professional front, the rawness underneath was there. Her lips tightened, the words slow to form as she struggled to find the right response, her voice barely a whisper. "What happened?" The question felt out of place coming from her. "Did he do this? She stopped, as though the words themselves couldn't keep up with what she was seeing. She looked at me. "You need to sit down. Someone, help, we need help." A distant voice, male and insistent, called from the hallway. "What's happening?" Each word made sense on its own, but as a sentence, they fell into a jumble I couldn't grasp. Everything felt out of sync. "Who did what?" I asked. My voice sounded distant. It sounded like someone else's, detached from the panic around me. Time slipped away again, fading in and out like it always did. I barely noticed, as hands lifted me back to the couch, steering me like I was a puppet. I didn't fight, didn't question, I just let them lead. A blanket found its way over my shoulders, wrapping me in warmth that felt stifling, a gentle restraint I didn't bother to shrug off. "Abusive piece of shit!" The voice was female, sharp, almost frantic. What's wrong with her face? Her face? Whose face? Mine? The voice continued. Oh my God, he did this. That abusive piece of shit. But my mind couldn't make sense of it. Not yet, with everything muffled and hazy, the room slipping in and out around me. A softer, steady male voice rose, cut through the tension. This is hard to see. You should step outside. The woman stammered, her voice wavering. I tried to work with him. There were signs. Abusive patterns. He wouldn't budge. I had no choice. Her voice cracked, raw. Oh my God, I can't believe he did this. What happened to her face? A boot stomp, maybe, came his calm reply. Oh God, how could he? You should step outside, he repeated, his tone gentle but firm. I'll stay with her. You go and lead the paramedics. Can you do that? A man sat down beside me, with a smile that seemed to glow, warm and genuine. His short brown hair had a bit of a soft curl to it, and his eyes, dark brown, kind, gentle. That smile, it reached all the way into his eyes, not just his mouth. I trusted him instantly. There was no doubt, no hesitation. Hello, he said, his voice soothing my fractured thoughts. Do you remember me? I'm Eric. I live down the hall. We've spoken a few times. I tried to smile back, to nod, but the second I moved, red-hot pain exploded on the right side of my face. I winced. Easy, he said. Try to relax. Don't push yourself. No talking, and try not to move your head. I could listen to him talk forever. Breathe, he said, demonstrating with a deep inhale. I mirrored him, trying to match his rhythm, my body following his lead. His eyes stayed on mine, so kind and caring. It had been so long since someone had looked at me like that, with warmth, with concern. I felt safe, like I could stay there with him forever. Eric. His name was Eric. Somehow, at some point, my hand found its way into his. Breathe, I whispered back to him, my voice barely audible but in sync with his. The plate under my skin felt foreign, distant yet solid, as though part of me was held together by something I couldn't own. I was a patched-up doll, stitched and reinforced. They'd called it emergency surgery, but I wasn't sure what had been saved. In recovery, it was the morphine I clung to. The drip, with its mechanical click and wheeze, became my new best friend. Every 2 hours, it brought that burning rush, pulling me away from everything I couldn't face. When the haze lifted, I'd look around the room. 4 beds crammed together, a flimsy curtain barely offering privacy. A tray table, a bed that swallowed me whole, and a bathroom I avoided. It was all so sterile, so ordinary, but it wasn't the room that bothered me. It was my face. I knew it so well, every line, every flaw. I could trace it in my sleep, my chin, my eyebrows, the slight crook in my nose. But now I couldn't bring myself to look at it. I didn't want to stare into the mirror and see a stranger. I wanted my face exactly as I remembered it. Whose face would it be if not mine? Beauty was a number, wasn't it? A way the world decided your worth. I'd always been an 8, maybe a 7 on bad days. But now? What if I dropped to a 5, or worse? What if I became a 2? I knew the truth. Only what's on the outside mattered. The chaos inside, the mess I barely kept under control, didn't count. That could be fixed with pills and a smile. But my face? That was something the world wouldn't ignore. Would he still love me? When he looked at me, would his eyes still light up like they used to? Would he still see the woman he once fell in love with? Or was I something different now? My worth, hadn't it always been in the way he looked at me? Would I still be beautiful enough? Still worthy of love? Plus, the quick glances, the tight smiles. It had happened before with the wrist brace. People thought I didn't notice, but I did. Now there'd be something worse. I pictured it. I imagined peeling off the bandages, revealing a face stitched together like Frankenstein's monster. My hands wandered over the bandages, searching for something familiar, but I couldn't feel anything. My cheekbones, my lips, everything hidden, erased. I felt like a faceless figure drifting through a world that didn't recognize me anymore. A blank space where I used to be. Have you made it this far? Do you feel it too? With each step, this slow unraveling of what's left of me? What am I seeing? What do I remember? Are you still watching? Do you feel that pull? Please stay with me. My story is only beginning. So if you felt something real here, go ahead and like this. Share it with someone who loves the strange and haunting. And make sure to subscribe. There's so much more to reveal.